Good morning. Welcome to business math class again. We're having some discussion here about the homework. It's 5-3. Which problem, Christine?
18.
Problem number 18. Reason we're discussing that one is the answers aren't in the book, and we wanted to make sure that everyone was getting the same answer, I guess. It says, Tyler and Johnson, a law firm, purchased $75,000 worth of office furniture. Assuming that the furniture will have a scrap value of $8,000, prepare a 7-year depreciation schedule. I think the issue with the 7 years is 1 divided by 7 is, it's actually an irrational number. It's a long, non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. And so the question sort of was, what are we doing with rounding that one?
I rounded it.
And she's saying, I rounded it, and Keith's saying, I didn't round it.
Well, yeah, I didn't know how many places over around.
I know, and if this were a private classroom and we were just in here together, I might have one answer. And since we're on tapes and I'm answering this for maybe other people in the future, I probably should address it 2 different ways, okay? Personally, what I would tell you to do, and I'll get a clarification on this, but what I would tell you to do is to use as your depreciation rate 1 divided by 7, which is a yucky decimal, times 2, store it in your memory, and use that for your depreciation rate.
Yeah, there's like a $300 difference.
And there will be. Now, since there's not an answer in the back, I don't know what the author's intention was. I told you that what I would really like to see when you do the test is work. Because if you give me a number and I can't figure out where you came up with that number, I'm not going to give you any partial credit for that number that I don't know where it came from, and I'm not a mind reader and I don't know, you know what I'm saying? So I would want you to, on that depreciation schedule, when you're making your chart, show me what you did, that you did 1 divided by 7 equal times 2 equal, and show me where you rounded that. But I personally like 1 divided by 7 equal times 2 stored in memory. I'm kind of into precision. I'm not into rounding. But that doesn't mean that another instructor wouldn't say, go ahead and round that. But to me, 1/7 has value, and rounding isn't what we'd want to do with that. Was there an example in the book that used a 7 or a 9 as a... And what did they do with that number?
I didn't really look at the answer. I just didn't round it. I just stuck with the big number.
Okay, you stuck with the crazy decimal.
Yeah, it was like 0.285714.
Okay.
Well, when you multiplied it.
And Christine said, and I multiplied it to, I rounded it to be 0.29. I personally am not a rounding fan. I'm kind of into precision.
We worked it both ways.
Okay. And let me get... And again, I will make a phone call on that, and I'll answer what the majority of other instructors would say to that. I would say don't round, but I'll ask.
Well, I don't know.
And it does make a difference in the answer. It makes a difference in every year's depreciation, and certainly over 7 years it makes a difference.
But we were pretty close to the right answer rounding it, so I'm kind of wondering if the book doesn't round it.
Okay. And I said I don't think that was addressed in any of the, because the numbers that were used for years of depreciation in the book were 4, which the decimal is 0.25, 5, which is 0.2. So those are nice, what I call kind of clean numbers. This one ends up being a long non...
It comes up to almost the right answer with just a few cents off.
Well, but it's an even number. How do we know that? When you're saying the right answer.
Well, what they give you is the 8,000 and the 67 in the answer.
No, on number 18, you don't have any answers at all.
Well, it has the scrap value of 8,000, so you have to come up with that.
Oh, but in double declining, we don't know that we're going to hit scrap. Don't you remember? We can come to scrap value early, and we can have to adjust and take extra depreciation in the final year. So no, that issue isn't really there, because when you're doing double declining, unlike straight line you will tie in the final year and not going to be off more than $1. to scrap. But in double declining, remember those two examples that we did in our last class session? One of them, if we did it double declining, we had to adjust by making it more in the last year. And in those other examples, we ran out of depreciation quite early. So we're not ever really going to tie right to scrap with double declining. That's not an issue.
A question I had on 21, like my this year's depreciation on the last year was more than the year before that, but that's just because I adjusted it.
That's right.
Like I had 1 year left, and my depreciation before that was 12,000.
And you were not down to scrap.
Right, and because scrap was 0, and I still had 18,400.
That's right. So you have to adjust in the final year.
So I just took that for the depreciation.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what he's saying is that he had to adjust, and that's number 21.
Yeah.
And did you agree with what it said in the book then?
I didn't look really.
It doesn't say. Okay.
What are the answers? You go over 12 real quick.
But I understand. I mean, and I think you're all doing it right. It's a matter of are we going to round or are we not going to round? And I'm going to get a ruling on that for other people. But again, if this tape were not being done and it was my class personally, and I wasn't answering for other people that might be watching on another tape, I'd say don't round. Not for me. I want precision. You know, store it in the calculator, use that decimal. But
And then round to the cent.
And then, yeah. But let me get Steve's opinion on that for the next class session. Is that okay? I love calling him. He's always there at 8 o'clock in the morning, so tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, he's got office hours, and he answers the phone. It's just not a problem to get a hold of him. So
Maybe on Saturday.
I don't think I'll get a hold of him today, but I will. Yeah. Keegan.
So what are the answers?
Who did not round and use the decimal? Can I have your book?
Yeah.
Let me grab it.
If you could read it.
Here.
The decimal I wrote up there because I didn't remember how to store it.
I'm going to see if I can zoom and get this on the screen.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. It's okay. We're on number 18. Is that right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit more. I'm going to come down through current depreciation, and I'll read these to you. This is problem number 18. Let's see who agrees. $21,488.51 in year one, current depreciation. 428. That might be.
What it is.
Okay. Did you get 15,306.12 in the second year?
Yes.
Are we there? And then 10,932.94. It's going.
Depends on how you round that last number, but yeah.
Okay. 7,809.25. She's saying yes or no back there, girl. Oh, no, I'm looking at Kari. Okay. How did you deal with the decimal?
I didn't round it. I kind of kept it.
See, maybe my calculator is like.
And that could be another issue.
Sometimes the numbers go off.
But you're in that same ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's how come I'm telling you. I need you to show me the calculation so I know what numbers you used. Okay? But you should all be in that same ballpark. And you're right, if hers carries decimals out to 12 places and yours carries it out to 8 places, we're going to be off by pennies. So I just like to see the numbers. It takes a long time to grade this test.
I didn't write.
I understand.
You want us to do that though?
I
on
would
the
like
test,
that,
though?
yeah.
Okay.
And I'll show you for an example.
Like you'd want 75,000
Well,
times.
I'm going to get my sheets out and show you what I did.
817.
I saw your little friend.
Okay, I mean, this is one from my notes. Oh, I don't want that one. That's partial year. Just a minute. Let me go back. I know which one I'm looking for. This was a double declining. I put 0.4 times book value, and so I put my 0.4 times 1,500 equals 600, 0.4. So you can do,
Even if it's one of those really, really long
well, you can just
decimals.
show me what the decimal is and put decimal times.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I was going to say. I see what you used for your decimal. You've got
Yeah.
it written right here.
Yeah.
So I could go back through and put that in my calculator and come up with the same answers you did.
Okay.
But I get an opinion about where we're going to round that decimal, but if you just store it in your calculator, these should be pretty close to correct answers. Kari, how close or far are you from these?
It's not 0.5 towards.
I'm at like, the first one is 21,750.
That's
It's
what
off
you
by a
rounded.
couple hundred.
So you must be rounding.
She rounded to
To
29.
the,
Did you do 0.29?
Times 2.
yeah.
Okay, so you're getting the same answers that they're getting. So you're doing the process right. We need to get an answer on the rounding.
I have a question.
Big step.
And I would just want you to show me what decimal you use. 0.29 times book value would be fine. I just need to see what you're doing. Okay,
On
Cassandra.
number 18, for some reason I got the first two right, but then I'm off on the,
What'd you get on number 3?
well, I got 4,810.50, but obviously that's not right.
You probably just got a thumb where a finger was supposed to be on your calculator.
Isn't how
Did
we,
you take the 38, did you have 38,265 over here?
No.
My brain's working.
Okay, what number did you have? Okay, so year 0, book value is 75,000.
Yeah,
Next year, book value, year 1, is 53,571.
571.
What do you have at the end of the second year as the book value?
16,834.
That's what you did wrong.
But don't we subtract the 53,000?
You take 53,000 and
Minus the-
subtract the 15, this year's depreciation.
Oh,
Track this year, probably not accumulating.
I bet you
I
accidentally.
did the other one.
Right, so you got off.
Yeah.
But you were doing it correctly, you just had one number wrong. So you're going to get back on track now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Karen, how's it going for you?
Got it. At
Okay.
least he and I do.
Okay. And so there should be the people that rounded and the people that didn't round.
But you're gonna have it like before you hand
I'm
out
going to
the
give you
test.
numbers like 4 and 5 in the denominator so we don't have
Oh,
this
that'd
issue.
work out. Good.
Or 10, or something, 8, that doesn't become, this is called an irrational number. It's a long decimal. I will address the issue, but on the test and on the review, I'm giving you numbers like, for denominators, like 4, 5, 8, 10, that don't, and that's what I was asking. Was there an example in the book for year 7 or year 9, which gives you an irrational number for a decimal? Okay? But I'm not going to ask you those that aren't clean decimals, so we're not going to have to worry about those on the test. So is the process okay? I'll just answer what the general, I will get the answer to what would someone else want on an irrational decimal. Okay. Okay, other questions? Did someone else have another one? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We ready to talk about units of production then? The last topic that we're going to address is units of production. I'm just going to fold this sheet of paper.
We aren't doing the partial year depreciation.
No, we are not doing partial year. Since the year began, a decision was made. They have actually shortened each class 5 minutes from last year. Did you know that? Classes that started at 8 used to be over at 8:55. At 9, they were over at 9:55. Now they're over at 9:50, at 10:50. So each class was shortened 5 minutes. The finals used to be a full 2 hours long. Now they are 1 hour and 50 minutes long. So an adjustment needed to be made to allow for a shorter final, 10 minutes shorter final, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I've been there when there were still people sitting that would have liked another 10 minutes. And for the fact that there just wasn't enough time to cover all of the material, because that's 15 minutes a week times 16 weeks. I mean, we're really short about 4 hours in class time each semester. And so the decision was made to take out partial year and stock turnover. And that was where the time was going to be made up, not having to do those two. I had already typed the notes and had them back from Word Production when that decision was made. And I knew we were really working hard to get all of this depreciation into 2 days. So I decided to just adjust by eliminating 5.4 and 5.5 from the schedule and taking the extra day here with units of production.
So this is gonna be 5.3C then?
And this will be 5.3C. It's up here under units of production on the notes. The homework that's associated with that in the book is 5, 7, and 23. Are you at units of production?
That's a 23.
Yes. 5, 7, 23. Do you see where we are on your notes? Okay. And so we'll be doing this when we get done. The additional material that's on the notes we just won't be handling. Okay, it's no longer part of the course. An asset, something that a business owns that has value, often has a useful life given in terms of units of production. Sometimes it's hours of service. Sometimes it's miles of service. You know, like I think about a copy machine. It needs service after every so many pages are printed. So, you know, there's a production unit. It could be some sort of imprinter or something that can stamp so many times, and after that we have to throw it away and buy a new one. Usage is a common factor in how far into the useful life of something we are. We don't necessarily keep a car 3 years. Most of us will drive a car till it's got 100,000 miles on it, right? If we don't drive it much, it doesn't go down in value as much. You know you'd rather buy a car that's got less miles on it, right? Because there's more units of service left in it. So the issue that we're going to deal with is depreciation by usage. What we're going to be given is the original cost. We're going to be given the scrap value, but instead of how long we're going to keep it in terms of years, we're going to be given a useful life. And it's not going to be in years, it's going to be in its whatever it does. If it's something that's got mileage, it's going to be in miles. Airplane engine lasts so many hours, right? You don't fly your plane, if you don't fly your plane as much, it doesn't get worn out as much. You put a lot of air miles on a plane, or air time on a plane, it needs to be serviced more often. So we're going to have some production unit, okay, that is not time. And we are going to depreciate it per unit of use. So one of the things we need to be able to do, instead of coming up with a decimal that we're going to depreciate by that's based on time, we're going to come up with a depreciation rate, but it's going to be per unit. So we're always going to take how much we're going to depreciate it over the life of the unit divided by the units of life that we're anticipating. Okay, here we go. I hide my buttons sometimes. Okay. It says I have a machine. It cost me $12,680. I'm going to have a scrap value predetermined of $2,000, and I know that I can use this machine for 20,000 hours. What is the depreciation per unit? So what is the total depreciable amount over the time that I own this machine?
Isn't that the cost subtract the scrap?
Thank you. Cost subtract scrap. So over the life of the time that I own it, it's going to depreciate a total of $10,680. And I know that I'm going to depreciate it over 20,000 hours. So to begin, we get the depreciation amount by subtracting the scrap from the cost. And I then make the calculation that says 10,680 divided by 20,000. 0.534, which really means 53.4 cents per hour of usage is what it's costing me. But we're not going to deal with cents because we don't want our depreciation in terms of cents. We're going to leave it in terms of a dollar, 0.534. And we're not going to round that one, Christine.
Okay.
But that one terminates, doesn't it? Did that terminate? Mm-hmm. When you stick that in your calculator, do we have to round that one?
No.
No.
Just stop there.
I think the issue is really when they go on and on forever, what do we do with them? Right. I'm going to pick on her.
Simplicity is the key to life.
Well, and see, I'm the other way. I'm precision. She's creative, and I'm structured. And that doesn't mean you're wrong. I'm going to get a consensus of what most people's opinion of that is.
We don't really
I tend to be, give me all the decimals, particularly when we have a calculator. Okay, so how we find out how much depreciation we're going to take in a year is to be determined by how many, this is per hour, are you with me? This is $0.534 per hour. So if I want to know how much depreciation to take in a year, what do I need to know?
How many hours?
How many hours did I use it? That's right. So if I have an annual depreciation, in example 1, in a year in which the machine is used 5,000 hours, I will take that 0.534 times 5,000. In a year in which I use it 5,000 hours, I will depreciate it $2,670. So what we're finding out is, how much per hour does it cost us to run this machine for depreciation? Take that times the number of hours it was run. So you'd have some sort of a logbook next to this machine, and you'd know how many hours it was used, and you would take your depreciation based on that. Is that okay? So it's not straight line, it's not double declining, it is strictly based on usage. Okay, so what we're going to do next then is, let me find my sheets are mixed up, so it's going to take me a minute.
It's number 3 on the top.
Well, I understand that, but I'm not finding the, my stuff's not paper clipped together too well is what I'm saying. Read me what it says.
Use of units of production method. It's the one with the partial year depreciation. It's the next unit.
You want to use
Oh,
mine?
I found it. Okay, I'm sorry. It's where I've got stop written right
Right.
big. That's right. Okay, here we go. The example that we need to do then in class is we need to use the units of production method and come up with a units of production depreciation schedule. And I know that in year 1, there were 5,000 hours used. In year 2, there were 4,000 hours used. And in year 3, there were 2,000 hours used. We're going to use the same decimal that we used before, 0.534. And we actually know that in year 0, we paid $12,680, right? Okay. In the first year, we already made that calculation. And you see what I'm saying about show me your work? I've got 5,000 times 0.534 equal, and we did 2670. So the accumulated depreciation in the first year is 2670. Then we're going to take the $12,680, subtract this year's depreciation, and say, after we've used it 1 year, the book value is going to be $10,010. We subtract exactly like we did before. The only difference is how we come up with this year's depreciation. Cassandra, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. I figured it out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
How much did we use this machine in year 2?
4,000 hours.
4,000 hours. Is the depreciation going to be more than or less than the depreciation in the first year?
Less.
How come?
It's less
Because
hours.
you use
Less
less.
hours. That's right. We're going to use exactly the same decimal. We use the machine for less hours, so we're going to take 4,000 hours, multiply it times 0.534. I ended up with 2136. I add 2136 to last year's depreciation. End up with $4,806 total. And the book value at the end of the second year is $7,874. Is everyone seeing what we're doing? This year's depreciation is calculated differently, but The structure of the chart is the same. Last year is 2,000 hours, more or less. Less, good. Ought to be exactly half of this one, shouldn't it? It's been used exactly half as much. $2,000 times 0.534 is $1,068. We've used it half as much. The depreciation is half as much. Total accumulated depreciation, I take last year's accumulated and add this year's.
Why did you do 2,000 times that?
Because we used 2,000 hours.
Oh, I thought it was 32. Yeah, because it says year 3.
I know,
did
I put big
3,000.
red dots in between
Yeah,
here
I
because
just-
when I
yeah,
was doing it,
that's
I
what I
was
did
having
wrong.
trouble reading it. And I
Okay.
think I made sure I spaced it out more on the review.
My fault.
No, it was hard to read, I agree. I said, I've got big red dots in there so I can tell them apart. Total depreciation then is 1,068 for the year. Accumulated depreciation is 5,874. And at that point, the book value is $6,806. We don't necessarily come down to scrap during any particular time here. We have no idea what your scrap value will be hit. We might not use that machine much next year, are you with me? And we could use it a lot more. Can you tell me how many hours have I already used the machine? 11,000. I'm going to scrap this when I've got 20,000 hours of usage, so I've got another 9,000 hours of useful life. Those could be 1,000 hours for 9 years. That could be 9,000 hours next year, and I'd scrap it. We kind of do that at our house with cars. Do you do that? I mean, and we've kind of got this 100,000 mile kind of, once it gets to be pushing that number, we're looking at getting something different. But I don't put very many miles on my car, so I'll drive it for a really long time. Versus my husband puts a lot of miles on his car, so he gets a new car more often because it's got higher mileage more often than mine does. So, you know, that's kind of the example that I use in real life. How when you use it more, you know, if you drive back and forth from New York to California a couple times, your car's going to wear out faster than if you're just commuting a couple blocks to work. So we're not going to take this down to scrap. We don't know what the production is for the rest of the life. So we're just going to make this depreciation schedule for whatever years are given and stop. Is that all right?
So we're always
Ask me a question. We're always
on
going
the
to.
on the last year of depreciation.
Well, we don't know what the last year is.
Well, like, I was thinking 7,874 would be where we would stop at the book value, but we're always going to take the accumulated depreciation to get on the last
Right.
line. On the last
In
line,
the
we're
year
always going to
three,
take.
in the year 3, our book value is 6,806,
Yeah.
and it'll sit there until we use it some more.
And it's going to do that. We're going to do that. Okay. Like on the last line, we're always going to take
Sure.
the original book value minus the accumulated depreciation. Okay.
Now, what's on the notes after that, and I wrote a great big stop on yours, is that partial year depreciation. The difference and what happened in that next section, and we at least need to talk about it, is everything we assumed happened here is that we bought something and used it for an entire year the first year. And that's going to be our assumption for the review and for the test. What actually happens in businesses, however, is you might buy something in August or in October, or, you know, and so then the depreciation during that first year is simply the part of the year that you owned it. Like if you owned it a half a year, you'd only take half of the depreciation, or if you only owned it for 2 months or 3 months, you'd just do 2 12ths or 3 12ths times the first year. We're not doing that, but you could do that. They work exactly the same way. We're just looking at when the item was purchased and taking a partial year during that first year. We are, however, assuming, to keep it clean, I guess, or keep it straightforward, that we own everything a whole year. That we're buying it the 1st of January and we're selling at the end of December. So we're doing everything to a full year. Okay, then what I'd like for you to do, and we'll go ahead and get one going, is try one of the problems here. And I'm thinking 23 looks like a good one to get started on. See if you can do that. While you're doing that, I'll pass out the review and then we'll get it up here. Or we'll at least get you started on it, okay? So let me walk around.
And this test is Monday?
No, there's a review on Monday. I'm passing out the review. Oh, okay. No, the review is Monday, and then we're having a test on Wednesday. And I've got a review. Some of you enjoy working over the weekend and have more time. I don't know about enjoy, but you've got more time on the weekend. That was a bad, right? I tend to get stuff done on the weekend because I'm rushed during the week. So I'll give you this because I have it. But if not, we're going to work on this in class on Monday, and the test is on Wednesday. Okay? While I'm doing that, you start on 23, and then we'll get it up here together.
What exactly? Because I understand it straight.
That's double. Double.
So,
It means the same as double. 200% means double. Times 1.5, and this would be times 1.25, and we're just not doing this. But that's all you would do. That's all you would do. Okay?
How do we know?
How are we doing? We should begin this by putting in year 0 that we purchased a truck for $24,800. Is that okay? And we're going to do a unit of production depreciation schedule. And what else do we know? How many years do we have here? 5 years. The most important number that we need to come up with is how much are we going to depreciate our truck per mile of usage. Once you've got that number, it's a pretty straightforward process. Who remembers the formula?
Cost minus, well, it's depreciation per year divided by number of, is that what you're talking about?
Cost
It's
minus
scrap
scrap
value.
over useful life.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you get that number, Keegan?
I got, you take scrap value, or the cost minus scrap value divided by divided by the period of time.
Not period of time.
Well,
Close.
depreciate over a period of units.
Units, over the units.
Well,
How
time.
many useful units? When are we gonna get rid of this truck?
80,000 miles.
80,000 miles. Once we've got this magic number, the rest of this makes sense. Cost minus scrap is
24,800.
minus,
Oh, no. That's what cost minus scrap is.
22,800.
Oh,
20.
no.
2,800.
Oh.
okay. Throw that sheet away. Start with a new sheet. Got to come up with our magic number. Depreciation per unit of use. Then we're ready to rock.
So that's how we
Okay.
find what we times the number by?
That's exactly what it is.
Oh.
That's how we get started. Okay. Did you come up with that number?
No, I did the wrong
Point
thing.
285.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Somebody
well-
said it's .285.
It
Does
is.
somebody else agree?
0.285.
0.285.
Huh? .285. Once we have that number, and what's that called? Depreciation rate per unit. We're going to say, and what that means is that the value of that truck is going down 28.5 cents per mile. Sandra, does that make sense?
Yeah, I just gotta get this written down.
Okay. .285 is dollars per mile. We say that because these are dollars up here, and this is mileage down here. So it's .285 per mile, which really means 28.5 or 28.5 cents per mile. We need to establish that number. Once that's established, we need to write down all of our mileage. And then, now do you know what we're going to do, Cassandra?
Yeah.
Each one of these is going to be taken times .285, times .285. And I am really sloppy today. It's because I'm writing with pens that are huge.
Thinking today.
You're having trouble thinking?
No, I'm thinking today. I've had trouble thinking. I've had this horrible diseases like a brain block for the last week and a half.
Brain is
So
full.
I'm thinking
Our
today.
brain is full. Maybe we emptied some of it out, we can start over.
That's why I did so bad on that last test. I couldn't even add 2 plus 2.
Didn't leave enough room to write these numbers in, but we're gonna just write them in here anyway. I'm gonna change this and make it a little bit wider. Okay, how much depreciation are we gonna take in year one? Who's got it? Go ahead, Josh.
$2,251.50.
2,251.
And 50 cents.
Okay,
If you need that 50 cents. I don't think the book uses that. so-
okay. How much depreciation are we gonna take?
Okay, wait a second, we're multiplying 7.
900.
0, 0, okay.
Isn't that what the number is in the book?
22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7,900
Yes.
miles times .285. Now, once again, what I would do with that .285 is I would store it in the memory of my calculator. I don't like having to re-enter numbers. So you can either write down .285 or you can store it in the memory of your calculator. If you do that, then you can just enter each of the mileages and take it times, and then you can just recall your memory and have that number stored for you. And it'll show it to you. It'll come on your little display. If anybody's having trouble getting that memory to work, I'll be glad to help you. I'll come around and show you how to get your memory going. So how much depreciation are we going to have in the second year?
$4,061.25.
Excuse me. 461,
Uh-huh.
4,061, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Point
25.
25, okay. How much depreciation in the third year?
49.30.50.
4930.50, and again, I apologize because I know that my numbers are hard to read because I'm writing with an awfully big pen. Fourth year,
46.17.
and the fifth year,
51.64.20.
Marilyn, is that going okay?
Yeah, I was just figuring how much I had left
Okay.
on the miles.
Oh, okay. How many miles have we used so far?
We've used up a total of 73,770, and we have left 6,230 to depreciate.
Okay. And she said, I added up all the mileage. I know how much I've already used, so I should know where my odometer is setting. And nobody's asking you this, but if they did, she said, I've got 6,230 miles left. It's time to start shopping for a new truck, right? Because the usage I've had has been someplace that's going to be about 6 months from now that I'm going to be buying a new truck. But we don't worry about in units of depreciation getting it down to scrap value. We're then going to go ahead and subtract each of these, come up with our book values, and add our accumulated depreciation together. We'll come up with those figures here before we leave. But the key really is, how do I get started? And how you get started is coming up with the depreciation per whatever unit of production you're using. Per hour, per mile, per stamping, per whatever, however you're measuring your production, your usage. When someone's got the book values down for 5 years, we'll get them. Do you have them, Josh?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay, just a second. Let me get going here. When the first year's book value?
22,548.50,
Right.
and then $18,487.25,
Mm-hmm.
and $13,556.75, and then $8,939.75, and then $3,775.55.
Does anyone agree?
No, that's your
That's the,
Isn't that your cumulative?
that's the book value.
units of production.
Fran says she agrees. Anybody else agree?
I didn't hear.
Huh?
What, I didn't.
That's your
You
answer.
agree.
So you're
I agree.
subtracting.
You agree? We end up in the final year.
Okay.
3775.55. Okay, then we can go home and do our homework. We should be able to turn off these tapes. You should be able to take that review home, work on it. The answers are on the bottom. And, test is Wednesday. We'll review on Monday. Patrick, do you have a question for the good of the cause?
I think I do. I don't know if
Cool.
you already addressed it, but number 7, I don't understand how to answer that.
Number
in
7.
comparison with the back of the book.
Oh, okay. He says number 7 doesn't seem to work in his life.
Oh.
Units of production depreciation method. Find the depreciation. It says that we're buying something for $33,000 and it's going to have no scrap value at the end. So the total amount of depreciation would be $33,000. We're looking at number 7. So we're going to have 30. Christine's disease spread to me. Thanks, Christine. $33,000 worth of depreciation, yes. And how many units of production do we expect in the lifetime? No, in the lifetime. Okay, in the lifetime, 150. Huh? Yeah, so we divide it by the lifetime usage. That will give us dollars per unit. What did we get? Which in essence is 22 cents per unit that we use it is what it's costing us in depreciation. Patrick, in a year that we used it, 22,400 miles.
Yeah, I get it. I just didn't know what usage was due. I didn't know that meant that's how much you used it in 1 year.
Yes, I know. It says we used it 22,400 units. Think about it as miles or something, and it cost us 22 cents per unit. Multiply, and that'll be your answer.
Okay.
That would be like one line on a depreciation schedule.
I got it now. I just didn't know what it
No, that was a great question. So, okay, we'll let them turn off the tapes, and we'll get out of here.